on YouTube,
All right.
preparing to live stream the webinar.
Can I say hi to your friends too?
No,
I
I'm
mean, it's
sure
your show.
they're probably your friends.
We'll see. Yeah, I see some familiar names. Hi, Carolina and Natalia and Carol, Michelle.
Okay, now let's see. We've got double.
Durga. Oh my gosh, I love your name. Do you know the song Hey Ma Durga by, what's her name? I can't remember, but I used to listen to it on repeat. It's such a good song. Do you know what I'm talking about, Katja?
Do what?
It's a Durga song. Donna Delore. Yes, thank you. Yes, I love that song.
Sing it for us.
Oh my God. Hey Ma Durga, JJ Ma, JJ. And then I really like the part where she goes, hey Ma Durga, I want to feel what you feel.
Yeah.
Hey Ma Durga, I want to see what you see. I don't know what I want to feel what you feel. I want to see what you see. And I want to love how you love. I want to see beyond this illusion. And it's just really cool. Yeah. I'm not doing Donna Delore justice, but it's a great song.
Well, and I think of there's another Ram Dass.
Yeah.
He's a guy that does that chant also.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. I'm going to start the recording and then we'll get official here. Record. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Amanda Poole Walsh and Astrology Hub.
Oh my gosh, you're so great.
So great to see you. Let's see. I think I'll put it on gallery view so I can see. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, you're out in Hawaii.
Yes, I am currently on Maui, where I started on the Big Island, but then I moved here, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Uh-huh. And I imagine that the internet is a little better there than Big Island.
The internet is so much better here. And when I moved from New York City to the Big Island, my grand plan was I was going to start something online. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll just start something online. And then I get there and I have no internet. Like I'm literally like begging my neighbors just to piggyback off theirs, which is like some satellite thing that never works. So yeah.
Yeah. I remember I would drive into Hilo, to upload the Pele report. And, it was just like, ah.
Yes. Talk about things being hard.
Oh, sure. God. Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, we've come a long way in many years, behind us. And it's just wonderful I didn't know you when I was living in Hawaii. So how long have you been there now?
Okay, Sophia is 8 and I was 7 months pregnant with her. So almost 8 years.
Almost 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was there from 2010 to 2012 or 13.
Right.
So
we did have a little overlap.
Just tiny,
just
a little one there.
Yeah, because I remember 2012, for every new and full moon, I got to walk in this oceanside. No, it was only full moons, I think. But we had this oceanside labyrinth that I got to walk in with this like group of women. We would walk in the labyrinth and men would stand on the outside as like sentinels for the whole thing. And it was really, really powerful. But that was Big Island.
So beautiful. So beautiful. And when did you start Astrology Hub?
Astrology Hub is about 5 years old. And it was definitely like a side hustle for a while. It wasn't like my main focus until probably about like 2-3 years ago. So it was just something that I was doing and hoping that it would work. And then finally it got so busy and it was working. So I got to focus all my attention on it, but it took a little bit of time to get there.
It does seem to be working now. How
Yay.
fantastic. I want to thank you for having me, in 2020. I'm
Oh my
really
gosh.
looking forward to, I don't know if everybody knows or not, but, maybe you should describe a little bit of it because I mean, Amanda, here's what I know about it. I mean, Amanda's got 12 astrologers, one for each lunar cycle.
Mhm.
And fortunately, I get the Jupiter Saturn conjunction that's in December, January of 2020, 2021. And so I will be a guide for that particular Sag new moon. But tell us how did you conceive of this? And I mean, well, you're an astrologer yourself. So how long have you been doing astrology yourself?
I am not Kai Pacha. I am not an astrologer. No, I'm not. I'm like too respectful of what all of you do to even remotely consider myself an astrologer. Yes, I've learned from all of you over the years, but I'm not. And I actually think that's one of the reasons why Astrology Hub has worked the way it has is because I'm just a lover of astrology. I'm just a like steward. I love um representing it in the way that it deserves and in representing people like you in the way that you deserve. So for me it's it's a love affair, and it's a love affair that came out of a really dark night of the soul. And finding astrology when I was like at the bottom of the barrel, like for a triple Capricorn woman, like in the worst place ever, divorce, career crisis, almost bankrupt. It's like, whoa. And this was all after moving to Hawaii, because I moved to Hawaii because I wanted to follow my heart and I wanted to be passionate about my work and I wanted to be of service and all these things. And it just took some time, and I had to go through a really, really dark time before I could get there. And
Oh
astrology
my
saved
God.
me. I mean, astrology,
Uh-huh.
Natasha, my first reading with Natasha Alter, who you know very well.
Yeah.
She was my first astrology reading. I'm like, oh my gosh, there is a God for sure to like link me with her of all astrologers to have my first reading with. And it blew me away. It blew me away. And then astrology just became a lifeline. And when the opportunity came to create something with it, which was totally random too, it was like one of my best girlfriends. We were sitting at dinner at her house talking about astrology, and her husband walked in the room and was like, I have this domain name, Astrology Hub, and I've had it for years, and I've just been waiting to do something with it. Like, would you want to do something? And I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Here's the marriage I'd been looking for, a passion, something that my heart was in, plus service, and then also using my gifts and talents in a way that I could not find an outlet for in Hawaii. I was like, I couldn't find any work, for what I'm good at, which I don't really know how to say what I'm good at, but I couldn't find any work to do any of it here.
You're good at bringing people together, about inspiring people, and connecting people and really getting them excited about, you know, yeah. I mean, that's the way I see it, right?
Kai Pacha, do you say that that's like somewhat of a signature of an Aries South Node? Because one of the things, like being able to instill confidence in other people, but then also instill enthusiasm, and like people can feed off that. That's something I've just heard. I just want to see what you think about that.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I have to look at where Mars is in the house, and I mean, there's a lot more involved. Yeah, for me,
Uh,
an Aries South Node is past lifetimes of,
right.
really needing to assert, to charge, to make choices fast, to trust your impulses, and to just like do it. And sometimes thinking later,
Yeah.
but it is that thrusting, like go, just go, and we'll figure it out as on the road. That kind of energy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
for sure.
beautiful, and of course, fire is that enthusiasm and that sparkle that you've
Yeah.
got. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really great. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah, so it's all been pretty random, and I'd love to say, I had this grand business plan and I just executed it perfectly. It's like, nope, like every step of the way has been, let's try this, let's do this, and let's see, what people really need. And again, I think being in the position of the person really needing it,
Mhm.
it's given me a unique ability to know, what people really are looking for. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's very exciting because, when I think of you, I, it's like, I mean, I know a lot of astrologers, but I don't think I know as many as you. In the 70s and 80s, I used to go to astrology conventions. And I met all the astrologers. A lot of them are dead now. But anyway, you're in an interesting position because, like, I studied with Jeffrey Green, and Maurice, and Daniel G. So I mean, I had kind of like schools of astrology, and I've really narrowed my approach, my focus, my technique. I mean, I've integrated. I did Uranian for a while, and the shamanic and the evolutionary. So I mean, I feel like I've integrated a few different schools, but you are in touch with many different schools, many different approaches, many different personalities, and it's got to be just fascinating. I'll bet you have these different astrologers look at the same chart and give different interpretations according to their bias or whatever. I mean, what do you look for in, when you're looking for astrologers to be your monthly guides?
Mhm.
What is your criteria?
That's such a great question. I would say the first thing we're looking for is heart, because we need leaders and guides that are starting with the heart. And then, of course, they're ridiculously intelligent and talented at what they do, but they have that heart orientation, which I think distinguishes us and the astrologers that we have. Because what I quickly realized when I got into the world of astrology, which I was like, fresh off the boat, like eyes wide open. Oh my gosh, look at all these astrologers. Look at all these different types of astrology. I didn't even know this existed. I thought it was basically all what Natasha does. I didn't realize there was so much variety at first.
Uh-huh. Right.
And then I started to realize like there are definitely astrologers and astrology that are, it's like so cerebral, like it's like completely like academic, and it's, there's such a place for that. I'm so grateful that there's people like that, and we actually have featured some astrologers like that as well, and there's definitely a place for it. And for something like the inner circle, because what you're going to be participating in next year is because it really does become like a soul family, like in Ohana, Ohana, and for those who don't
Yeah.
know, Hawaiian means family, but it really becomes a family, and it's a place where people can do that like deep soul work based on their chart, based on what they're learning about astrology. So for me, the heart-centeredness is really, really important. And then, people that can hold the space, like people that can like claim their authority and hold everybody, because it really is a journey. Like every lunar cycle we're going through a journey. There's big transits there, so the astrologer really needs to be like the captain of the ship, holding everybody. um and we look for lots of variety, different topics, different angles and perspectives. So like this year, we start off with Anne Orderly, and then we have Cameron Allen, who's someone that like isn't as well known, but he's doing something very distinct around herbalism and the body and astrology. And then we have like Sasha Benedetti focusing on the Venus cycles, and Gemini Brett, the storyteller, who will just come in and with all of his amazing poetry, but also he's going to be teaching about astrolocality. So for people that want to learn how to choose somewhere to live on the planet based on their chart. So interesting topics, ability to hold the space, heart-centeredness. Um, those are some of the most important things. I know I'm going to think of like 5 other things after we're done, but yeah.
I mean, that is just fantastic because it's, I mean, I didn't know that. It's amazing. I'm starting the New Paradigm School of Astrology,
Nice.
and I'm wanting to think of what is different about me and what I'm doing and my approach. and what makes our school different. And it was that, I wanted to be like the astrology of love. I really, and I was just, today, I'm thinking of this, what am I going to say on my new website about, my school? And so I'm like, I want to bridge love and astrology, and how, how they feed, how they, what is, what does that do? And I was just, feeling like astrology as a map of your soul and your soul journey and your intention. I mean, really, the evolutionary intention is to open to love.
Totally.
And so it's like, really, when you're looking at astrology, you're looking at the connection. That's the other thing. Love is connection.
Oh, totally.
And
Yes.
astrology shows you how all of creation is intricately connected. So it's really like, whenever you're looking at astrology, or the stars, or communicating with the moon, or feeling the Venus conjunct Pluto, it's just like, it really is as above, so below. And that is love. That is connection. So I am so, I'm so grateful to hear that you have that same approach, that same value. It's like a core value. And
It's my so I do a lot of work with Alison Armstrong. I don't know if you've heard of her, but one of the things that she has you do is identify your noble qualities. And she wrote a book called The Queen's Code, and it's very much like the archetypes of the king and the queen, kind of, is a lot of her work. But number one for me is love, and I have literally love / connection, because to me it's the same thing. Like, when you feel connected to something or someone, you feel love, and
yeah,
vice versa. So and that is, to me, there's three things about astrology that I think are the most potent for why I'm so in love with it, and why I think so many people are in love with it, is connection. Because you realize that you cultivate a connection with yourself, you are able to more easily cultivate a connection with others, and then a connection with the universe, right? Which is amazing. So many of us feel that when we're children, and then we lose it. And then the second thing is purpose. It's like, I'm not just this random thing floating around. And when I was sitting in Natasha Alter's kitchen, at her little table having tea with my first reading, it was like, oh my gosh, I've always known somewhere that there's a purpose to my life, but that this stranger can, like, look at this little circle with these squiggly things. I have no idea what any of it means. And she can verbalize what I've known. Is like, it was such confirmation. I remember Kaipacha sitting there being like, I had 13 years of Catholic school behind me, born Irish Catholic family, and studied all kinds of different world religions and everything. But feeling like, at that first astrology reading, it was my first evidence of God. And it was like, oh my gosh, there is a divine intelligence. There is a higher power. Like, there's no way this could be possible if there's not. Right.
right.
And then the third thing is magic. And that is one of the most beautiful things about astrology. And for me to get to witness all the people in our community when they have those moments of magic and synchronicity, that they realize it's like, that's not a synchronicity. This is all like part of the plan, and it's divine and beautiful. And it's like a real magic, it's like a long lasting magic. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to say it because there could be kids listening, but you know what I'm saying? Like, those
Yeah.
things that you learned as a kid were magic, but then you got that disillusioned
It was
about.
a trick.
Yeah. But then to come back as an adult and be like, no, there actually is magic. It is real. It's just a little bit different than the way I was thinking about it, and it's way better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's so that is just like, and that connection with helping people to connect to their inner soul is so healing. And there is such a wounding. I feel that there's a lot of healing necessary. This wandering around with no sense of purpose, and not being able to make a meaningful avenue for our life events or our phenomena. It's just more, it's like living in chaos. Like for me, I had the exact same thing that you had. When I had my first reading, that huge aha moment just made me dive into it. And then some of me, so part of me goes like, how did I do without it?
Yeah.
It's like now I so feel like if it wasn't for astrology, I would be in a deer in the headlights. Like life is happening so fast, and the technology and the artificial intelligence and the communications, and I mean, it's just like everything is snowballing and going exponential on us. That there is so much insecurity, unsafety, fear. It really brings up, I think, a lot of fear. And to me, astrology can, help to bring calm and and help us relax. I mean, so I feel like what you're doing, is helping people in so many different ways. How do you feel astrology is best, used to, to assist or help people,
A couple
these days?
different ways. Yeah. So one of the ways is just that what you were talking about, realizing that the timing of things, the events that are happening, like giving us that eagle's eye perspective, that allows us to ride the waves, ride the waves through the different things that come up, through times that feel chaotic, through times that feel fear, where fear is elicited. When I was in that dark night of the soul, when you say, if I didn't have astrology, I'd be a deer in the headlights. I was thinking, if I didn't have astrology, I think I might've gone crazy. Like seriously, like legitimately, because everything was crashing so dramatically around me. And I thought I was like literally having a nervous breakdown, because it's like, I can't handle this level of stress, all at once. But
Hmm.
every time I would talk to an astrologer, every time I would tune into, Leo King or you or any, the forecast events or the, different things, I would get this like perspective on my life. And it was like, this is all happening for a reason, and you're going to be okay. And there's a lot of people in this boat with you. You're not alone. You're not riding these waves alone. And that in and of itself can be such a reassurance that, like, yeah, it's intense. It's totally intense, but like, you're not the only one feeling it. We're all feeling it together. And especially like as we look at 2020 and things that are coming there, it's like, I think we have such an advantage. Not that we get to bypass any of it, that not that we won't experience things, but we have this perspective of, okay, like this is necessary change. This is an opportunity for transformation. This is an opportunity for growth. And so I think that, you know, that's number one, is just working with the timing of things and that perspective. But then that can get so much more personal and understanding your own path, your own journey, your own, like, I think of it as a divine blueprint. It's like understanding the blueprint that is you, having the opportunity to fall in love with that blueprint more and more, and express it more and more, and unfold, more and more with every insight. I was Rick Levine, who is going to be at your event. When he told me some key things about Capricorn that just like boom, in an instant shifted my perception of myself and like allowed me to love more aspects of myself. Whereas before it was kind of like, oh, I'm Capricorn, like I'm not like super stoked on that, it's, but when Rick gave me his perspective on it, and more layers, it's like layer after layer of understanding. It was like, oh, I can embrace that. He brought in the whole capricious side of the root word of Capricorn, like playful, and
Right.
he, lots of other things that he told me, but it's just, it changed things for me. So that's when I watch people and their journey with astrology, it's like this unfolding, and they
Yeah.
get to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the core of their soul. And with that awareness and understanding comes the opportunity for love, and the opportunity to embrace who they are. So I think
Beautiful.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, you get more comfortable with yourself.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
why I
And
just went through a whole big thing with my new birth chart.
you have a new birth chart?
Did I tell you? Yeah, I came across my original birth certificate, and my and it was in my father's handwriting. I had always had this typed one from the county, from the hospital, but I saw that my dad, in his handwriting, he put CST, like on purpose, Central Standard Time, and it was July. So I had been using daylight time, and I was always a Leo rising, and now I'm a Virgo rising.
What? You know what, Kai Pacha? I can totally see that though. But you know what I think is so cool about that is you get the information when you need it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when people have revelations like that, it's like there's a reason why you knew it that way for as long as you
Yeah,
did. And
yeah,
at this moment, why you're like being asked to grow into some other archetype that you didn't even realize was part of who you are, which
yeah,
at the end of the day, all the astrologers say we're really meant to embody and reflect all of it. You know, so
right,
we get attached to our design, but at the end of the
right.
day, it's like we are all of it. So
Yeah, yeah. It's really,
that must have
it's
been
really
such a
amazing.
trip. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, and what you said, the Leo rising with Venus, Pluto on the ascendant in the first house, did bring me where I am. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna stand in front of the lights and camera and whatever and da, 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 right, and like now it's in the 12th.
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
it's like everything is in the 12th, but my son was in the 12th and it moved into the 11th. So yeah, it's really it's a very phenomenal shift. As you know, the evolutionary approach is the soul is Pluto, and and having Pluto, like my soul move from being the self instinctive, like Aries first house energy into Pisces 12th house, old and yeah, so there's I'm still digesting it. It's but it's part of our my Uranus is square Uranus right now, so I'm going through a bit of a identity
Wow.
shift. You
Well,
know,
thank goodness that you had the time wrong for as long as you did, because all of us have benefited greatly from you standing in that light and saying, bring it on. And now this is going to be like the next phase of you. You know, this happens a lot too. What I see, because we do feature a lot of astrologers and different types of astrology, they all use different house systems. So this can definitely happen, when people run their chart and different house system. What do you call it? Like a house system,
yeah,
whatever. Um,
different.
yeah, they things will shift around and it'll be like, oh my God, kind of like identity crisis moment. And it's always like, look, it's all, you're all of it, like embrace it and find the one that's like the most useful and resonant for you where you're at in your life.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. For me, it was really great because this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction was going to happen in my 6th house. And so I was kind of like, oh, work and
Yeah.
work and health and work and now it's happening in my 5th. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I can, I'd much rather have that.
Nice. Oh my God, I
I
love
mean,
it.
it's going to be a wild year with this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and I'm sure that you've talked to lots of different astrologers. You've gotten lots of different perspectives and takes. And oh, I heard one the other day. What was it? Somebody said oh golly, something about Trump, that he was going to he was going to get impeached or something, but refuse to leave office or something, and like, just take over the country. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation out there right now. I mean, this hasn't happened in thousands of years. What have you been hearing through the grapevine, and what do you what's your take on it?
Oh my gosh, Kaipacha, so much. I've been interviewing astrologers, I think, for months now on 2020 and what they see. Um, and here's one thing to say first. At first, I was like, okay, I want to make sure this isn't just hyped up, but it's actually not that big of a deal. So I would ask all of you, is 2020 as big of a deal as people are making it out to be? Or is it just, kind of hyped up? Every single astrologer, regardless of background, regardless of orientation, has said yes. It is a huge deal. So, a couple of there's been a lot of common threads actually, which is interesting too, because it's not like people are saying really like diverse things. There's diverse angles of it. There's diverse perspectives of it, but the underlying themes of massive change, of massive transformation, of almost like big, huge changes in government and structures, like all of our structures, leadership, like so leadership both at like the global level, but then also like leadership in your life, um, hard work. I mean, one of the things that it's like, this is like such a Saturnian hard work will pay off, like making wise long-term choices and decisions. Um, so there's definitely some themes, but even with that hard work and even with that change and even with that transformation, there's always this air of massive opportunity, like stepping into our destiny in ways that we never imagined possible, seeding futures that we could only conceive of and maybe even not even conceive of before. So with all the change and with all the, structural shifts, there's this massive opportunity. And I think for all of us, it's the choice. Like, what is it? The Chinese letter word for danger and opportunity is the same. And I think that's what this is about in so many ways. It's like we can either be like, danger, change, oh my God, unknown, or we can be like, okay, this is opportunity. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we came here for. I
Right.
truly believe that all of you out there, we all chose to incarnate at this time. Like, this is a super intense time to be like, yeah, I'm going to go down there and like live my life and live my mission, right? But we did. We did, and we said yes, and we're here, and we're connected with the cosmos, and we're connected with this greater perspective of what's happening. So I see this opportunity for all of us to really hold the light, to hold the positive stance, and to help in creating a new future that all of us get to benefit from. Maybe in this lifetime or not, but those are the undertones. Like if I had to like break it down, the feeling is challenge, like especially in the beginning of the year, with like a lot of hope towards the end of the year, which when I think about you being our inner circle guide in December, it's like, who better? Like it couldn't have been more perfectly scripted to have you bringing us into 2021. Then I've actually heard several astrologers talk about how this year is a massive setup for what will be big forward action that will begin in 2021. So how that looks, I mean, I've had some astrologers say some like pretty bold things about what this could look like for government. If you're interested, I don't want to repeat it, but if you're interested, I just interviewed Anne Orderly on the Astrology Hub podcast. I think it's episode 56. So check it out. She makes some really bold claims, like claims that where I was like, did you really just say that? Like, you realize that we're on air, like, and she's like, yep, she's like, that's what I see. I'm just calling it like I see it. So it's
Yeah,
gonna be
baby.
interesting. I think it's gonna be wild. One of the things that you talk about is really learning to find our center and in the chaos. So I think all of our inner work practices, all the things that we do to take care of our bodies, of our minds, of our spirits, they're gonna be even more important now, than ever. And one of the things Gemini Brett was emphasizing is slowing down as much as possible, even as things like speed up, finding ways to slow down and really looking towards nature to learn how to do that. And so,
Right.
I don't know about any of you, but I find that extraordinarily challenging. But I think it's a really big opportunity for us to practice, especially when it's harder and harder to do that.
It's
So
true. It's like,
does that answer your question?
yeah, that's great. I mean, it's like, I want to tell everybody to move to Costa Rica or move to Hawaii or get out of the city, or, nature is so rejuvenating, strengthening, uh, purging, purifying, and it's so easy to get stressed and to, there's just like so much going on in so many different levels and ways. So yeah, that's nice. I'm really glad to hear your approach. It's something, because if you think about it, I think they think of those. There's a list of the 10 most stressful times in your life, like when you get married or when you get hired or fired or a birth, being born, or moving to another city or country, or building a house, or they have this whole list. And if you think of that list, well, this is also the time of the biggest changes that can also give birth to, it's like, yeah, we're getting married, or like, yeah, I got a job, or yeah, I got divorced. It's like, it's like, yeah, it's so this coming together of the energy, yes, it is intense. And part of that intensity is that there's so much potential, and there is something so big coming out of it. And if we can take that fear, take that stress, and turn it into excitement. I always think of it as like, I was acting for a while, and you would get stage fright. When and they open that curtain, or you're supposed to go out there, and there's this moment where it's like you're just like scared shitless, right? But if you just get over that moment and turn all that fear into energy, then you charge out there, and and all that energy just like really changes the entire, it's the entire experience. So it's really, I mean, I would love to hear, I mean, if you want to get, just throw out a couple more things for people to chew on a little bit, in terms of, some of the tidbits that you've heard. I mean, I'm curious.
Well, I wrote a few notes because I was like, I don't want to forget anything. Yeah, one of the things too is this idea of falling in love with the journey, like falling in love with the process of doing the work. Like not for the end goal, but for the fact that you're building your soul. You're building with every step of the way. You're building something. So I think that focusing less on like the outcome and where we're trying to go, and more on that process of like kind of like the whole chop wood, carry water, like just do what we need to do, and do the work, and don't be afraid to do the work. And whatever that work looks like, that could be inner work, that could be, work just to stay centered, whatever it is, but being okay with that process of doing what it takes. A lot of talk about honoring your obligations and keeping your promises. So this isn't a time to be frivolous with agreements that you've made or contracts that you've signed. It's like, no, honor those. Like there's responsibilities that you signed up for. Make sure you honor those and really see them through, like whatever it takes for that. So it's also Saturnian, right? Voting with our dollars. So a lot of the astrologers have focused on the ecological crisis and the opportunity that we have to find solutions to the current challenges. And for many of us, that's as simple as voting with our dollars and making sure that we're funding the things that we want to see more of in the world, and not funding the things we want to see less of. So that's, again, like it's also Saturnian, but this Saturnian messages with the Jupiter fringe, you know? So we're going to expand any of the things that we're focusing on. And if it's, you know, if we're being frivolous and we're you know, not honoring our obligations and our responsibilities and all those things, that's going to get blown up, right? But if we are, and we're actually doing the work and doing what it takes, and yes, it's going to be hard sometimes, but that's okay, because we realize that it's about the journey. It's, you know, it's about this whole process of building for our soul, then that will also be rewarded, you know? So what else are they talking about? I
Well,
know, right?
that reminds me a little bit of, I mean, I've just been getting into Eris because this whole thing is square to Eris. And Eris is the goddess of discord. And I've been, you know, I always try to think positive and look at the bright side and, you know, bring in the light. But like when we look at Eris, okay, she is pretty dark. And there's a big dark energy, but all I can say is that discord, you know, is where, and she throws this, you know, the apple to the fairest, okay, amongst the, you know, comes to the party. She wasn't invited to the party and throws it in between the, and they're basically the elite. They're the gods of Mount Olympus, and they're having, you know, they're the zillionaires that are, you know, in charge of the entire planet and have all the power, control, and money and influence and that you could possibly have. And she disrupts that scene. And, you know, really, it's like a question of values. It's a question of, you know, what is the fairest? So what is most important? What are your priorities? What are you really about? And, you know, what do you really want? So, you know, the discord actually, to me, is like problems are never solved at the same level they're created. That you get discord at a level where we are, because we need to evolve. We need to break through, you know, into a new way of working, of dealing, of manifesting spirit in matter. And this is, you know, this is, it's very profound. I think when you go into areas and realms where we've just never been before, this has not been done before. There's no model, there's no example, there's no replicating some business, you know, model, or, you know, something that it's like we have to really go beyond, outside the matriarchy, outside the patriarchy, outside capitalism and socialism and Muslim and Christian and like, you know, really go for a whole new paradigm. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Hence new paradigm astrology, right?
Oh, yeah, but
I mean, it's so true. And it's one of the things that I love most about astrology is I really see how it helps us transcend those things and connect and unify at a level that is just beyond the infighting that's happening. And when you say there's no map, there's no model, we're figuring it out. The only map or model is our soul. It's the blueprint within us. So that's where it's like, okay, that's why the slowing down and getting quiet as much as possible and doing the practices, it becomes more and more important. Definitely some astrologers have pointed out the opportunity for things to become more and more decentralized, and for more and more entrepreneurial activities to take place, you know, people to really like be their own leader in their own life and create the vision that they're holding. So, you know, Adam Summer loves to talk about Bitcoin and, you know, different kinds of currency. Stormy Grace even brought up the potential for bartering and trading to come back in, at least as we're like creating new systems. And then I love what Tammy Bronk said, another shamanic astrologer. She said, we are at the same time that we're hospicing the old, we're midwifing the new. So we're doing these two things at the very exact time, the same time. And I'm so excited that you're on the panel for the 2020 forecast event, because we're going to get to spend 3 days hearing from all 12 astrologers, like in one full on, event, all the different perspectives, all the different insights, and all the different guidance that you all have as translators of the language of the stars. So it's going to be very exciting.
I have a lot more to say.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. And I would love, actually, as you're speaking about Eris, I don't think very many people are going to be talking about Eris. So please bring that in. But to me, she seems like a great illuminator. Like, she came in and she was like, look, you guys are going to fight over this. Like, that's ridiculous. It makes you look stupid. And, it's showing you where your value system is. I think.
Well, what reminded me of her was, I mean, she had all these offspring, right? Her, and they all have their own names, I mean, but, one was dysomnia, which is her moon, is lawlessness. But she brought, she gave birth to strife and battle, and, but one of the things that she gave birth to was Horcus. And Horcus is the one who goes and he delivers the worst destiny to those who swear to a false oath.
Whoa.
So there is this kind of, I feel like there's a judge, a jury, and an executioner. And I feel like Eris is kind of the executioner. She's bringing in this, karmic retribution for those who abuse power. And we're seeing, the sex traffickers and the presidents and, all these, people really being held far more accountable for what they do with their money and influence and power. It's going to be, this is what I see, and what you're saying is a redistribution of power. And I just posted on Facebook this article that was like so totally amazing. But the other thing with Uranus and Taurus, is just this whole onslaught of technology. And well, I don't want to go too far. I want you to talk more, but it's getting more and more like Star Wars. Okay, I really feel that, I read this article where they are working on robotic soldiers. And it's like the future is going to be, okay, and I see, and this is the other thing with 2020 is I really see Eris, actually, her orbit is tilted 44 degrees. She's way off the ecliptic. She's like, so all the other, when we've all been looking at the constellations and everything on the ecliptic, and our reality is like this bubble of these 12 or 13 signs on the ecliptic. Well, she's going through Satis now, which is the whale, and she's coming up and she's going to hit the ecliptic. She has a 558-year orbit. She's going to hit the ecliptic in 2075. And it really opened me up a lot to, okay, we're all looking at 2020, maybe 2021, maybe 2021. But you know what? It's like, this is just the birth, just the beginning. We're actually in a time of a huge transformation that is going to extend over the rest of our lives for sure. But it is kind of this, I really feel that I don't want to, I'm going to say just one last thing about that. And it's just, if I think of Luke Skywalker and the Force, I really do feel that there is a polarization happening between the light and the dark, really since the 2016 election in particular. where there's now more and more of this polarization, and I really strive for unity and diversity. And at the same time, I'm also seeing there is, there is, people are making choices and decisions, and those are leading in different directions.
So I was in London at the some sort of consciousness conference with Natasha several years ago. And I met a man there who was part of what you're talking about. So he was working on technologies where you literally can take your consciousness and put it into a body that has no pain, has no fear, has no hunger, like all the pain points of humanity, bam, taken care of. Just take your consciousness and put it over in this new body and live forever, pain-free, And I was so rattled by this, Kaipatra, for months. I was like, oh, like this is really happening. There are people who are investing their lives in creating that. Like that's the reality that they want to bring about. And but I also know there's enough of us who are not on that bandwagon. So it's like, it's going to be interesting. And you're right. It is just the beginning. That's the other thing. Christopher Renstrom and many of them have talked about how this is the beginning of the quote unquote new age. Like this is the new age that we've been hearing about, that we've been wondering about. Like we are in it, and it is like completely being birthed right now. So
yeah,
it is a new age, and there's new challenges and there's new things ahead. But I was actually talking to my girls about the artificial intelligence and some of these things, which my daughter Sophia, who's 8, I was like, oh God, I think maybe I shouldn't be talking about these things, because she seemed a little bit freaked out, rightfully so. But my 11-year-old was just fascinated. Like, really? Like there's people who would want that, but what about Mother Nature? And what about the ocean? And what about, like, I don't care. I don't mind feeling pain sometimes. I know that's just part of being alive. And I was like, okay, good. Like she's 11 and she can see it and feel it. And she, it's not like everybody's completely brainwashed,
Right. I mean, and I feel like the rebel camp. I mean, I feel like we need to, in very many ways, head for the hills. It is. I feel like, it was funny because I was actually at Dane Rudyard's 85th birthday party, and we each took turns coming up before him, and he kind of dubbed. He dubbed me and dubbed us, as seed people. Really seed people, of seeding a new age. And I feel like we have to form pods. We have to get together like the dolphins in Hawaii. We have to really, and there may be a time period, okay, for us to hibernate during a certain winter on this planet, where where our time, or the wisdom teachings, or the understanding, or the love that that we really nurture and hold, in a very safe space, and creating safe space, for this to emerge when it is time, when it is, when it's welcome, when it is appropriate, when it is, so it is, and this is Capricorn. This is right. It is time for us to become the author of our own lives and really make heavy decisions, big choices. I think what 2020 is going to put us all in the driver's seat of our own lives, and necessarily, where if we don't, let's say that if we don't get in the driver's seat and we want to sit in the back of the bus, we may end up somewhere where we don't want to go.
Yeah. And I know, like, a lot of these things can feel really intimidating or overwhelming to hear, because we're just making guesses on what these things actually are going to be. I don't know about all of you out there, but it's okay. Well, is it going to be government? Is it going to be economic? Is it going to be like something, the medical field, what is it going to be, and what is going to like force what you're talking about? But I think, again, it comes back to being able to trust in our own authority, being able to trust that we will know what to do when it's time to do it, trust that we will get the guidance that we need to take the steps that we need to take for our soul journey when we need it, and whatever role we're meant to play in this whole unfolding story, we'll know, and we can trust that. So it's, it's a lot of things, and there's going to be a lot of things that we can partially control. There's things we can control and decisions we can make. And then there's things that are not totally within our control. And we need to focus on the things that we can control. So a lot of the things we've talked about today are things that you can consciously cultivate and consciously be aware of.
Yeah.
And then we have to let go of everything else because we don't know. We really don't know. I mean, we know it's going to be different. It's going to be wild, but we don't know exactly what that'll look like.
I mean, and that's where I did, I love the I Ching quote that the best way to fight evil is to make progress toward the good.
Yeah.
And if it, and being about love and being about connection, I really feel that, this is a time of working on our relationships, of using each and every relationship to see our shadow, to look at our unconscious motivations, to look at our projections and our fears, and to really evolve individually so as to become examples, models, teachers, leaders, healers. It's like the more you do your own work, the more you do your inner work. And that was the other thing I felt like when you said at the beginning, like you went through absolute, it's just like, for me, it's grooming. And I feel like, I work with people day in and day out that are going through absolute hell. And it's just like, you know what? You're being groomed. This is your school. You are learning how to work with, manage, and master, because this is your life path. This is what you're going to help other people manage and master and heal. And so you're just getting a good dose of it. Don't take it personally.
Or be grateful for it on some level. I mean,
yeah, right.
somewhere. I remember when I was going through all my stuff, which of course there could be more stuff, but I remember having that perspective somewhere back here of like, I'll probably be able to help people through things like this at some point. I'll probably be able to, if I can do this, if I can navigate it, and if I can come out even better than I ever was before, then I can hold that for other people. I can hold that light for other people as they're going through those dark times. So it was like this challenge to myself, like, okay, well then you got to walk the walk and talk the talk and evolve through this and transcend, some of those things that got you into these situations in the first place. And then you will be able to, hold the hand as other people are going through the process. And
I've gone through so many experiences where I just say, this is going to make me a better astrologer. Now I know what this feels like. It's like, whoa.
Absolutely. Well, and that's, if service is at the core of your heart, and I believe pretty much every soul came here to serve on some level, right? Then you can hold that and let that, pull you through those hard times.
Yeah.
So, and we have each other. So this is where I know technology can be used for negative things, but it also can be used for very positive, beautiful things. And the fact that we get to have these conversations and connect with people all over the globe. And I mean, that's incredible. Like, yeah.
Speaking of which, this forecast that's coming in January, we want to help people. How can we get involved or do more with Astrology Hub? You've got something, the inner circle or something. Can you go a little bit into, how that's different than, anything else?
Sure. Well, there's two questions there. So the forecast is completely free. It's January 9th through 12th. January 9th, 10th, and 11th, I will be interviewing 12 astrologers. We're spending like 4 or 5 hours a day. I don't expect you to show up for the whole thing, although you're totally welcome to. But you can just kind of like hop on, hop off. It's like a hop on, hop off tour of 2020. We'll be going through every single lunar cycle of the year and highlighting key dates and themes and how to work with the energies. And then every day ends with a panel with the astrologers from that day. So Kaipacha is going to be on the third day. So that's January 11th. And make sure you show up for him. And you're going to put the link for them to join like in the description of this. Yeah.
I just did. It's in the chat box.
Okay, good. All right. And then, so that's free and available to all of you. Please join, share it with your friends. It's going to be amazing. This is the 5th year we've done it. And it's my favorite event of the year. It's always like, it's highly entertaining because you get to hear, it's like this condensed version of the year from all these different amazing astrologers, like the best astrologers in the world. And you know, we get to take that journey together. On the 12th, January 12th, on the day of the big conjunction of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, so the first big conjunction of 2020 that everybody's been talking about, we're going to be doing a group meditation and ceremony at the exact time of that event. So that's part of the forecasting event. So if you register for the forecast event, you'll get details on that too. And you're welcome to join us for that. Anytime that we've done these, like, I think of them as like sacred sky ceremonies, where we time our ceremony and our meditation and our coming together as a group with an actual event in the sky. It's like mind blowing, the things that happen, you know, the things that come out of it. Yeah. So we're doing that. And then if you like all of this and you like the astrologers and you want to learn more astrology and you want to continue working with the moon cycle, then the inner circle would be a great step for you to take next. And that is what Kaipacha was talking about earlier, where we have a different astrologer guide every lunar cycle, literally act as our guide. We have a live new and full moon forecast. We do a new moon intention setting ceremony. We have cosmic updates that get delivered to your phone. So real-time transit updates, but with guidance from the astrologer who's like assigned to that month. And soul work assignments, you know, all kinds of things to really work with the energy. The thing that I feel so passionate about is making astrology useful in your life. So it can help you live a better life, not some theory thing, which is great. And we can talk about it all day long, but are you using it? Are you living it? Are you embodying it? And so that's what the inner circle is all about, is giving you the tools to do that, giving you the guides to do that. But then you also learn astrology along the way. Every astrologer guide does a mastery class. So they teach you some aspect of astrology that they are really excellent at. So you're building your toolbox of astrological skills, and you're working with the moon cycle, and you're connected with an amazing community of people. And you're going to be one of our guides in 2020, which I'm so thrilled about. Yay. So awesome.
I'm really excited to, you know, and I want to do it with the other astrologers too, and really work with this moon, the moon cycle of the new moon, you know, the crescent and the, you know, just opening and waning and waxing and really feeling into these cycles, so that it's not just you know, an intellectual computer says aspect but you know, you really tune into the more subtle layers of human experience. So yeah, I want to thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, that you have done, that you keep on doing. And we just want to put a little word in for Anna and Jamie, and know that you are not alone. You've got a whole team, you know, supporting you.
We call them the A-Team Angels, and they're amazing. And Kaipacha, I have to say, your team is also awesome. I've been so impressed working with your angels that are behind the scenes as well. Super professional and on it, and like fun. So I can actually feel your energy through them too. So that's really, we can't do these things alone. I mean, there's no way. It's literally impossible. So yes, surrounding yourself with really amazing people is it makes work a lot more fun too. And I don't even think of this as work. Like, this is just really, I get to do this.
I know. That hits me a couple times a day. Am I really like this is like my job? Like
Yeah.
no, this can't be. I'm having
Seriously. But you know what? That was an intention that I know you set in motion a long time ago. I set in motion when I left New York. It was like, it was so clear that I wanted to love my work and I wanted to be passionate. So I'm just saying this, not to like toot my own horn or Carpaccio's horn, but to say to you that if you're holding that within you, and that is a desire within you to have work that you love, that you wake up every day and go, oh my God, I get to do this. It's possible. Just keep going, like keep going, do the work, don't give up, and just hold the vision for that. So, yeah.
and become an astrologer. No.
I do want more people to be astrologers. It's part of what we are so passionate about at Astrology Hub is like, and it's selfish. I'm like, God, if more people knew about their astrology and they could work with the universe, this would be a better world. So it's selfish on my part to want more of you to be astrologers, because then you're going to help more people and we're going to have a better place to live for our kids. But, and there's so much opportunity. I mean, come on, it is. I mean, even in the last 5 years, I've just seen it explode, and it continues to explode, and more people are looking for answers. And so, yeah, study hard.
You are the leading edge, Amanda. That's all I can say.
You've been doing this a lot longer than I have. So I don't know what that makes you.
It's so good to connect with you and share. I mean, I see our time is, running on and running out or whatever. I mean, are there any closing, comments or words or advice that you want to share before we sign off?
We got this, you guys. Like this is what we came here for. Just know that you have what you need in order to live that life that you've always envisioned, and you're resourced, like you have what you need, and or you will have what you need when you need it. So let's go into the year with curiosity and enthusiasm and holding love and connection, because that's, at the end of the day, it's all we got.
Oh,
Carpaccio, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And I always love interviewing you. So this has been so fun to like be interviewed by you and to be your first interview ever. Like, wow, what an honor.
I tried.
I cried.
I was telling myself before we got going, now let her talk, let her talk, let her talk.
That's so cute. I love it. You did a great job. You totally let me talk. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. There was one question from Julie, just, about the using the intuitive and the psychic with astrology. And I just wanted to, maybe we can close with this idea that for me, having an external validation of my internal intuitive psychic feeling is one of the primary values in astrology. I feel that it has really helped me to trust my intuition more and more and more. I don't use it in any way to predict so much as to look back and to really, it's like with this hindsight, it's like that's how you learn astrology. Is really by feeling it and sensing it, and then going back and going, oh yeah, you have those aha moments.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. And the best astrologers have both, for sure. Like there's no question that they're utilizing both aspects, the heart and the mind, the intuition, the intellect, all of it. So
yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
So much fun, you guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been so much fun to hang out with you on a little Saturday afternoon.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you again. And I will sign off now at this point. Right?